Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing your handover video on your Autosleeper Luxor. This is a 2005 based vehicle based on the 2.8 litre, I think is on a Peugeot Boxer. Let me just double check that. Yep, Peugeot Boxer. Same engines as the Fiat Ducato, but there's particular ones on the Peugeot. So, for an A-class vehicle, this bonnet layout is actually really good. Get really decent access. A lot of the A-class vehicles, you literally can't get your head inside the under the bonnet area. So this is really helpful for any sort of, if you ever had a problem on the side of the road, you can definitely get to this nice and easily. So you've got on the left-hand side just here, this is your engine battery. Brake fluid is up here, attached to the servo just behind it, and your power steering fluid is in this reservoir here at the front. You've then got your engine oil filling point just there, and engine oil dipstick just there underneath that. Chassis plate just there, Autosleeper branded, so you can see it's the original one. So you've then got some fuses and relays inside this little covered box just here. Engine coolant sits in this reservoir here at the top. Air filter sits inside this box here on the right hand side, and your washer fluid is in this one just down here. You've also got the fuel filter just there at the back. Again, not too bad for access. That's about it really. So just as we get to the near side at the front, we've got your diesel filling point. So you can take this cap out just like this. This is where your diesel goes in. Please don't mistake this diesel filling point on the front near side for the freshwater filling point here on the off side. So on the driver's side of the vehicle, the off side of the vehicle, we've got fresh water in this one. And then near side on the passenger side is the diesel. So I just like to make a really good point of that, because we have had it in the past where somebody has put diesel in the freshwater tank, and it's a big job to sort that out. So please don't get those two mixed up. Right, so we've then got the LPG, or your gas locker. So you've got the two bottles in here at the moment. So these are both 6 kilo propane bottles. The propane you can see because they are red. So to turn these bottles on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. And to turn them off, we go the other way, clockwise around to the right. This up here is your regulator. So you haven't got to do anything with this. This is just literally regulating the amount of pressure that comes through. And then you've got a pigtail hose here, which will have a date on it. So that's that, we've replaced that. So that's 2023. So you've got till 28 to replace this pigtail hose. So just to the right of this, this locker in here is basically just storage. We are going to obviously tidy it up for collection. But up here, you can see I've fitted the solar panel. So this is a new duo controller for the solar panel in here, and your spare, or your extra, sorry, leisure battery in there. So the original leisure battery, or the original leisure battery location is this one just down here in the lower locker. So you can see you have still got a battery in there, but it's basically wired up in line with this other one up top. So you've got twin leisure batteries. So this is the fuse here in this little waterproof casing for the solar panel. So if for whatever reason you lose a signal between this battery and the controller, that's probably what it is. Although that shouldn't happen, obviously. The rest of it in this locker is all to do with your sort of 12 volt, and also when you plug in on the mains, this is your 240 volt battery charger in here as well. So all just electrical stuff. To be honest with you, you don't really need to worry about the electrical stuff too much, because it's kind of just, if you get any problems, you can just give us a shout. It's all working absolutely fine at the moment, so you shouldn't have any issues. But there you go. That is what is down here in this lower locker. Right. So above the window just here, you have got this awning light. So you've got a switch just here. So I'll turn that one on. see the awning light there coming on. So basically the idea behind that is that you can have the awning wound out, have it all set up, and then you can have the awning light turned on just there so that you can see out underneath the awning. So you've got two switches just inside the door here. I'm going to go through the inside of the van separately in a minute, but these just here inside this door. So you've got this switch just here, which turns on and off the light just here above the habitation door inside. This isn't actually a switch, it's just a blank. And then you've got your step switch there as well. So see the step coming in really nicely. So you have got this door lock just here on the habitation door, and I think there's one on the driver's door as well. So you've also had the reversing camera fitted, so that's all just there underneath the brake light, all fitted with the original sort of rubber fittings that they give you, so that it's all nice and watertight. So you've got one camera that faces straight out to the back as your rear view camera or rear view mirror, and then one that goes straight down for your reversing as well. So I'll show you how all that works when we get into the cab in just a minute. Tow bar at the back and your ladder to get up onto the roof if you should ever need to there as well. So just before I forget as well, just down here underneath we've got your wastewater drain off point. So you can just see this little handle here. Basically, if you pull the handle towards you, all the water from the waste tank will drain out from the main drain just there. So if you're on a campsite, sometimes they like you to have, you drive over the waste drain off points, and then you'd pull that handle and drain it all out. Okay, so then so at the rear offside, this is your toilet cassette locker. So basically all you've got is you've got a freshwater flush on here. So it means you haven't got any separate flush fluids to worry about, no pink fluid or anything. To take the actual cassette out, push down on the little yellow tab just here and then pull the cassette towards you. You'll then be able to pull the cassette all the way out. This is actually the double-sized cassette, so you must have a bench seat toilet in here. But basically, all you need to know is that you drain it out from here. So this is your draining point here on the top of the cassette. When you're physically draining it out from there, you should be holding down the little yellow button there at the back as well. So that is the toilet cassette. Next one is the hookup point. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, it's really handy to have that plugged in for a couple of reasons. So if you had the hookup cable plugged in, your leisure batteries will be being charged up constantly. So it means that you'll be at full power all the time. Obviously you have got the solar panel on the roof now, so that is something that's going to be keeping you sort of topped up anyway, but having the hookup plugged in is going to keep you much higher voltage. The hookup will also give you access to using any 240 volt or mains powered sockets and appliances. So as we get into the inside, I'll show you what you've got that works on mains, but that is your hookup point. As I said earlier, this is your freshwater filling point just here to the left of the driver's door here. So freshwater filling point just there. As I say as well, you've got the lock just here on the driver's door. Just to show you this working as well, so you've got two keys on the key fob that look very similar. So you got this sort of just silver key here, and then you got another one with a little red tag on it. So if I just remind myself which one it is. So that one unlocks it but doesn't lock it. And then the other one, so the one with the red tag, locks it as well. So that is now completely locked. So if you want to lock the the driver's door, you have to use this one here with the little red tag on it in order to lock it and unlock it. All right, so if I jump into the cab now, what I'll do is I'll show you around here first, and then I will sort of spin around and show you into the back. So unfortunately I couldn't fit a mirror monitor on this for the reversing camera because there's no bracket for the original mirror to go onto. Because it's been made as an A-class with this drop-down bed, there's nowhere to put it. So I have had to put it on the dash just here. But, you know, I don't think it looks too bad. It's sort of tucked out of the way at the back there. Doesn't block your view at all. And the screen is pretty big, so it's, you know, nice and clear. You've also got fitted, just done this as well. So you've got the snooper head unit. So this was originally just a single DIN factory fitted Peugeot one, which, you know, they're a bit outdated now, to be honest with you. So when I turn the ignition on now, you'll see the camera screen will come straight on. So what we've got, the two options, if I just put the screen on like that, your two options are the straight down facing camera, or if you press the cam button, you can then see straight back. So obviously that's not going to be showing you much right now because we're in the garage, but that's your two camera options. Nice and clear. You can go through and adjust, you know, all sorts on there really. But yeah, there you go. So you can turn that off if you don't want it on all the time. You can turn it off. But the only thing I will say is that I have wired it up so that it will turn itself off when you turn the ignition off. So if I just do that now, the screen goes off. So, you know, you haven't really got much to worry about when it comes to sort of like battery drain or anything like that. That won't do anything like that. So the snooper head unit. So it is still just a single DIN unit, but it's got this kind of screen that comes out from the front. You can adjust this wherever you want it to go. It works a few different things. So you've got, let me just come back out a little bit. So you've got Apple CarPlay, which will just sort of, once you've done it once or twice, it will remember your phone and all that sort of stuff and just connect automatically. But it's a really, really high-tech screen. It's really good, actually. So you've got radio. So you can go through and select. We're inside right now, so you might not get a very good signal, but it'll lock onto something, I'm sure. But basically, it'll go through just like a normal radio and find whatever station you want it to find when you're outside. Music here, so you can basically, if you take this little screen off at the back, you can put little SD cards into it, which will basically remember what the music is. Bluetooth, as you're aware, you can basically go through and select different, you know, you can connect different phones and things like that. Once you've done that, you can actually go through and once you've got a phone connected, you can go through and you can dial on here. You can make phone calls from here. I have fitted here as well that came with it. This is the microphone for it. And unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, the cables up here, I wasn't 100% happy with, but the reason I've had to put them all here is the same reason as before. Basically, on a normal coach-built vehicle that hasn't been made into an A-class, the dashboard would finish here, yeah? And then you would have kind of bits that come up right here, bits that come up right here on the B pillars, or the A pillars, sorry. And that would have been where you would normally put those things. But because they're not there, I haven't been able to put anything where I'd normally put it. So unfortunately, these cables are a little bit exposed, but you know, is what it is. We can't really do much about the you know, the layout of these dashes, if you like. So that's why they're there like that. But anyway, so yeah, when you make phone calls, you can use it as a hands-free because you've got the microphone just there. I will also say that because the Luxor was quite a high spec vehicle, you've got a speaker up there and a speaker up here, and they're all linked up, all working really nicely. And I had it all linked up to my phone on the Apple CarPlay yesterday, just to check it all out, and it works really, really well. So to get the Apple CarPlay on, you press this little button here, speed play, and what it'll do is it will find phones that can, you know, basically work via Apple CarPlay or Android, whatever it's called. I'm not sure about the Android one, but that's all you have to do. Press on that one, and then if you've already linked up your phone to it, it will just go on automatically, and that's it. It's as easy as that. You've also got in the little glove box down here, you've got these two that I've had to run through the side of the cupboard here. So you've got CarPlay and Android Auto from this one, and then this one is just a USB socket, so if you want to charge up your phone or whatever, you've got a point in there. But this is the one, if you want to use it via like a cable, you can do it that way for Apple CarPlay. If you don't want to use it on the cable, you can do it wirelessly from this SpeedPlay thing. If we go back, got DAB, apps on here, so you can go through and just, you know, do all sorts really from there. And then you've got your navigation, which again is very unlikely to get a signal in here because we're inside. But this is your Snooper sat nav system. I mean, I personally, oh, there you go. It has picked up where we are. That is where we are right now. I personally have always loved the Apple CarPlay since it's come out a couple of years ago. And when you link your phone up to it for the Apple CarPlay, it gives you the option of sort of Spotify, Apple Music, maps, messages, all that sort of stuff. And so I personally would just use the maps from the Apple CarPlay if you can, because it's so good. The screen is really, really clear, as you'll see when you come to see it in person. But yeah, I can't fault it at all. It all went in fairly easily as well. But yeah, there you go. So, aside from all the electrical goodies, you've got the higher spec cabin here. So you've got the air conditioning switch just here. You've got your hazard warning lights. You've got front and rear fog lamps either side of that. All of your heater controls are just here as well. That's about it for down there, really. You've got two remotes here as well, just before I forget. So the smaller one is to do with the reversing camera, and the bigger one is to do with your snooper unit, so you can use that if you want to, or at least have a little play with it. You've got the indicators and lights from your left hand stalk just here. Washers and wipers are on the right hand side. You've then got your electric adjusting mirrors from just down here to the right of the key, and then underneath we've got your bonnet release handle just here on the left hand side. You probably can't see that, but that's where it is. And then your steering column adjustment just there as well. So that's about it really for the cab, I think. So as we get into the back of the van, I'm just going to start up here by the control panel. Now I will just say I have got this little piece to put back on up here, so that will be there when I get to it in just a minute after the video. This one as well is loose, so we'll just take that off, put it on properly in a minute. Right, so your control panel, you've essentially got what is kind of an on and off switch. There's not technically an on and off switch on this control panel, but you've got lights over here on the left, water pump here on the right, and then you've got your battery level testers. So you've got engine battery voltage, so between 12 and 13 volts, that's perfect. And then leisure, 12 volts, that's absolutely fine. You've then got your freshwater level, so if I press and hold this button here, it's telling us we're in the reserve for the fresh tank, so we've got no water in the fresh tank. On the right hand side, these aren't buttons, these are just lights. All right, so basically, if you're hooked up on the mains, you should have this little light here come on. If your waste tank is full up with water, this one here should come on. If your leisure battery gets really, really low, you get this light come on. If the fuse for your main battery goes wrong, this one will come on. And if any other fuses in the fuse box go wrong, this one should come on. The solar one won't do anything at all because we haven't got it wired up to the solar cables on the back of here. We've got it wired up direct to the leisure battery and the engine battery. So we haven't run through that. But that's all of the control panel just there, nice and easy. Now this switch just here on the right doesn't do anything at all anymore because it hasn't actually got an LPG tank anymore. You've got two gas bottles in the original gas bottle locker, but the LPG tank underneath isn't fitted, so that doesn't do anything at all, so you can just ignore that. This on the left isn't a button, this is a thermostat for the boiler. I'll run you through how the boiler works as we get to it in just a minute. But basically, when you've got your light switch turned on up there, you will then have power going to all of your sort of 12-volt functions. So you've got an ignition switch just there, which if I just... Well, that's a good start, isn't it? All right, so I'll make sure that's working before it comes out, but sorry about that. It's a bad start. So, yeah, probably just a bit of a sticky switch there. Right, so you've got your 4-burner hob up here. So you've got basically top left, bottom right, and top right. You've then got your grill and oven, all from this one sort of section just up here at the top. So there's all gas. And if I just show you down here, sometimes there will be something to show you down here. So yeah, so you've got your gas isolator taps just here. So the top one is your oven and grill that's just above this. Middle one is the boiler, and the bottom one there is the fridge. So if you needed to isolate the gas from any specific appliances, you can do it from there. This little lower one is just storage in here. Loads of storage in that one. And then I'm guessing it's going to be like a cutlery drawer area or something like that in here. You've got a light, which is 12-volt powered up here underneath, and a 240-volt hookup socket up there as well. Hot and cold water tap just here in the kitchen. Now I'm just going to run you through something to do with this. So when you're coming into the vehicle and you want to use the hot water, it's really important to check one thing first, which is basically just to make sure that the boiler has got water inside of it. So the first thing you need to do to make sure of that is have a little look in this lower cupboard just here and make sure that the boiler drain off point, which is this little yellow tab, is facing downwards like it is right now. If it was lifted up and facing upwards, basically all of the water, which is 10 litres inside this boiler, would drain out onto the floor. So that's a good sign that the boiler's got water in it straight away. But you then have to come up to the sink just here and pull the hot water through on the tap. So basically, when you pour the hot water through on the tap just here, if the boiler hasn't got any water in it at all, you will not get any water coming through the tap. So until the water comes through this tap nice and clearly, you can't really, or you shouldn't use the boiler to get the water hot. So that's just basically a fail-safe way to sort of look after your boiler. Make sure that you've got water going through the hot side of the tap before you try lighting it up. If you just want to use the heating, it's not a problem at all. You don't have to do this, and in fact you don't have to have water inside of the boiler. It's always a good idea really just to double check this before you start using it, but yeah. Right, so overhead lockers up here. We've got, that's just obviously the bottom of your main socket. This cable just here is just where I've routed the reversing camera cable. So I've managed to get it up here and running inside all of these bits all the way along, so you don't see the reversing camera cable apart from just this little bit here on the side of the sort of where the seat belt goes. Now the only reason I couldn't get it in there was because I was sort of pulling my hair out with it a little bit, where this is actually also another bit where cables run down, but for the life of me I could not get it to go down there. I was trying for about an hour, but it wouldn't go, so that's why I was running on the outside just there, but hopefully that's not a problem. All the rest of it I have managed to run through the bits up here. This one is the cable for your solar panel, so that runs down here in this trunking, and obviously this will all be tidied up. But there you go, that is all of the cables that I've run basically. Right, also just before I forget, and I'm just going to do this before I carry on, we've got, so to make up the bed here in the middle, I mean obviously you've got this over cab bed as well, which is really easy, you just literally put it down. But to make up the bed here in the middle, the table that you've got here is on these tall sort of legs normally, so these legs sit in these points here, and then the table sits on top of that. All right, but to make up the bed, they were missing from in the vehicle. I mean, I don't know if the previous owners misplaced them or kept them for some reason. You were missing these, which are basically half height of those. And what they do is it allows you to put those two in these ones, put the table on top of those, and then you've got the table here in the middle, which is the same height as these seats, which means that you can pull the cushions onto it and make up the double bed here in the middle. So you've got those two just there now. So that basically the bed will work really, really easily and quickly here in the middle. So the table, essentially, the table makes up this gap here. All right. So I just thought I'd run you through that just before I forgot, because I knew I would if I didn't just show you then. The two table legs, the normal table legs to have on, if you want it, you know, using it as a normal table, go in here on these little hooks, which I'll do in just a minute, you know, by the end of the video. But yeah, that's that. So the bathroom, which I'm going to run you through next. So in the bathroom, we've got light up here. The toilet is normally the only bit that I actually run through, because it's normally the only part that isn't self-explanatory, if you like. So it's very easy to use. So you've got the actual toilet cassette runs inside this little unit here. Press the button in here to pump around the flush fluid. You will need to have water in your fresh tank and the pump switched on at the control panel to use that. To open up the flap just here to allow anything in the bowl here to go into the cassette, you do just twist this like that, and that basically just opens up that flap. Make sure that once you have done that, you close that flap back up, because if you don't close the flap back over, the cassette is locked from the outside, so you won't be able to take it out. So make sure that you close that back over. Normal sort of mixer tap here, hot and cold water just from there. And then we've got the shower unit. So the shower itself is just down there on the floor. That's just where we've just tested it. Another light in here, like that, and a little push-up skylight there as well. So the skylight itself has got a little fan in it as well. So if you wanted to use it as an extractor, you can use that from there. Okay, so next appliance is going to be the fridge. I'll just turn that light up in the bathroom. So the next one is going to be the fridge. Now you've got, this is what's called a three-way fridge. As you can probably imagine, it works three different ways. Let me just open that up. So you've got a freezer compartment up here at the top. And if I just run you through the three different ways that it works. So you've got, where it is at the moment, up here on the left, is in the off position. You've then got 240 volts, so your mains, 12 volt, which is for when your engine's running, and gas for, you know, which I'll explain to you in just a minute. But basically, if you're at home or you're at a campsite and you have a hookup cable plugged in, you would be here on the hookup symbol. Now what that does is it heats up a 240 volt element inside the back of the fridge and works just like a household fridge. Basically, it will essentially just heat up the element, which then cools down the ammonia or all the sort of stuff that's in the back of it, and then in turn cools the fridge down. So the hookup one here, as long as you've got a hookup cable plugged in, just makes the fridge cold like a household one. So that's my personal favorite way of using it. If you've got access to a hookup cable, use it on that one. If you've already pre-cooled the fridge and you want to keep it cold as you're driving, you've got this one just here, which is your 12 volt, and that essentially works in the same way as a 240 volt one, where it's got an element in the back, 12 volt element this time, but it has to have the engine running in order to work. So the physical power cables that come to this fridge for the 12 volt function here come directly from the engine, basically. So it's you have to pre-cool the fridge first, and this is just for when you're driving to where you're going. The last one, the gas. When you switch it over to gas, you will get this little amber light flashing at you, and you'll be able to hear the igniter at the back of the fridge also. So to get that to work, all we do is press this little button in, and then Ideally, the gas will light up and this little symbol here will stop flashing. So we'll do that. Just let the gas get to it for a sec. There you go. So that little light there stopping flashing and stopping hearing it, you know, igniting at the back there after we've pressed this little button in for a few seconds tells us that the gas has lit. As long as you let go of that, like I have just done there, and the light doesn't start flashing again, you can know that the fridge is definitely working. Another way that you can just double check that it's working is by coming out to the back just here behind the door and putting your hand over this little vent just here on the top right hand side. Now this is basically the exhaust for the fridge on gas, and after you've had it on for a little bit you will feel hot air coming through just here. I'll also just mention that if you see sort of condensation building like this on the van at some point, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. It just means that the gas is working really well basically. Right, so that is the 3 different ways to use the fridge. Now, as I said, the 12 volt is for when you've already pre-cooled the fridge, but I will say that even the gas or the 240 volt will not get the fridge cold quickly. Doesn't matter what fridge you've got in a motorhome, it still takes a good 2, 3, 4 hours to get the fridges cold. You know, if you think about it, if you've got a new fridge at home, it wouldn't be hot. It wouldn't be cold in sort of half an hour. It takes a good couple of hours to get cold. It's the same on these, but that's it. That is how you use the fridge on the 3 different energies. So the box for the snooper head unit is just here as well. Just leave that in here just because there's going to be some information in there for you if you want to look through that. Same goes for the reversing camera screen here. All the paperwork for it is there. Okay, so the last appliance to run through is going to be the boiler, and that is these 2 things just here. So the one at the top is basically a 240 volt switch for the boiler. So if you wanted to heat the water up, but you wanted to use the mains that you've got plugged into it, so you've got the mains hookup plugged in basically, and you want to use that to heat the water up inside the boiler, press that little light on there. If you're hooked up on the mains, that should light up red, and that's it. It'll basically half an hour to an hour and you'll have hot water via the mains element. The mains is only for heating the water up. It doesn't do heating. It doesn't do your blown air heating. The blown air heating is gas only, but the hot water is gas or electric, so you can use it. This little one down here is basically how to use the boiler on gas. This one here is hot water on mains. So the one below it, the Trumatic C, so they call it the Trumatic Combi basically. It doesn't mean that you get instant hot water like a combi boiler at home, but it does mean that you get heating or hot water or both at the same time. So what you've essentially got is up 1 or up 2, which will give you hot water only, and the only difference is that you've got 40 or 60 degrees. All right, so I'm not actually going to light that up because I don't think there's much water in it. If we go down 1, we've got heating only, so that's what the little gas symbol there is, so that's heating only. And then we go down to the bottom and we've got heating and hot water at the same time. So for the time being, because I don't really want any hot water right now, but maybe I want some heating on, I've got it 1 down on that lower controller, and then after about 10-15 minutes I'll have hot air pumping through to any of these little sort of beige vents that are sort of dotted around the vehicle. So there's one just down there, there'll be one in the bathroom, there's a little one there for the bottom of the boiler, but yeah, so they'll be sort of dotted around everywhere, but that is how you use the boiler. As I say, you've got hot water to the top, so hot water only up. 1 down is heating only, 2 down is heating and hot water. All right, so that is how you use the boiler. If you've had the boiler on for a little while, when you turn it off, it'll probably flash a little green light at you for a little minute just to tell you it's cooling itself down. But yeah, so that's nothing to worry about. You've got really good access to the fresh tank here. So this is your freshwater tank. So if you want to drain out the freshwater tank, you can just lift up that boiler drain inside the cupboard there. That will drain it all out from there. If you leave the pump on the control panel whilst you lift that one up, it will drain all your fresh water out. But this basically just gives you really good access to the top of the tank if you sort of want to go through and clean it and things like that. But that's it. So I think I have covered everything. I don't think there's anything else to sort of go through. Hopefully everything made sense on the sort of screens here at the front. But yeah, there you go. Right, so if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.